and gentlemen, may I please have your attention? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are now live with BB3 TV.
Hey guys, thank you all so much for joining me as always. Welcome. Today's guest, I have Tom Conwell. He is a ufologist and a forensic pattern researcher. Tom has had his own personal experiences with UFOs. Super excited to dive in and get into some really good stuff here today. Tom, thank you so much for joining me again. We did this like we were talking probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago at this point, but I always love having you on the show. So thanks a lot for coming back on, man.
Well, thanks for having me, Hiz. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's definitely my pleasure. So let's bring some folks up to speed of like where you've been, what you've been up to for the last couple of years since we talked last. I mean, you have an incredible list of books out. Guys, if you can see down here scrolling on the bottom of the screen, you can go to Amazon.com, search Thomas W. Conwell, and he's got a list of about 5 or 6 books. You got a 3-volume set called They Are Here. You have Night Visitants, Going Interstellar, and Earthquakes and UFOs. That is quite a collection.
Yeah, and it turned out that I never really started writing books. I never wanted to write a book. I just did some research so that I'd have something to talk about because I love giving lectures.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when I realized how much I had just from the research, I thought, gee, if I put this together, maybe there's something here for a book. So let's try. And the first one came together in like about 2 months because I had all this stuff that I've been looking up. So then when I realized what I had, and I just limited that to the East Coast, I just expanded Central US, West Coast, and voila, 3 books.
And what you also came up with is like this incredibly comprehensive map that shows all the different places, all these. I thought you would have it. Last time we did a show, you actually had it sitting behind you. And this map, you guys should see this. It's incredible. It has like pegs where all of these sightings have been. And what I always found interesting is they always kind of circulate or they're like concentrate around specific areas. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, sure. I was looking for reasons why there'd be collections of sightings, and once I had the whole map together, then I could look at the whole instead of just one state. Because when you looked at a state, you miss too much. And I'm from Western Pennsylvania, and in and around the Pittsburgh area, and when you look at just around Pittsburgh, well, there's quite a few sightings there. But what happens when you cross the border there and go into Ohio? Well, it's a whole different story. And I knew that was interesting also. So that's why I had to put the whole book together like that instead of just states or whatever. I also did them by states, but I did that for speeches and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry here. We have some comments. Cool. Interesting. Oh, yeah. Future President Mr. Heisey and your guest has an awesome first name. Yeah, of course. That was from Tom, one of the owners of BB3 TV. So, okay, Tom, what I wanted to do is I have this list of questions, things that actually interest me, the things that I wanted to kind of get out of somebody who's had a personal experience, because you have. So what is that experience that you speak about in what Night Visitants, right?
Yes.
What sparked all this? Like, give us a little bit of background and how you even got interested and involved.
Oh, okay. Well, I was looking for something to do, and I had just retired from Honeywell. And by doing that, I realized that I was going to be sitting around doing zippo, absolutely nothing. And that wasn't a good thing for me. So I created something to do, and that started in ghost hunting.
Oh,
Well, started looking around at ghost hunting and I joined the team and had a couple of really um, earth-shaking experiences. And well, then about 2 years into it, the the a guy who runs the team said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody to do UFOs." And my hand went up instantly. I said, "This is what I've always wanted to do. So I'm your guy." So shortly after that, I, uh, hmm, I guess you can say that what I wanted to do was to uh, create some street creds about UFOs and whatever else. So by the street creds, what I meant was to do some writing um, about various things involving UFOs. And I knew I had to come across something that was a little different. So instead of writing how UFOs got here and trying to create that problem uh, and break it down into what we need to do, uh, I looked at it slightly differently, and that is, what do we need to do in order to get there versus the other way around? So
interesting.
I had a whole bunch of problems to solve. So I took them on one at a time and wrote a blog and that was anywhere from 1 to 4 pages long about each of the different aspects of what kind of problems we had to solve in order to go interstellar. And that's the Going Interstellar book.
Mhm.
And that was so much fun. I got into that, and then I just completely submerged myself in doing that. And um, I tried to um, keep it interesting because I have a tendency to get like really technical, and I had to keep reining myself in, and because I want everybody to read this stuff, and not
Mhm.
just physicists. That wasn't good. So writes, multiple rewrites, and more rewrites, and I finally, if I said something, I actually explained it. So that was this effort of writing the blogs. I did about 35 of them, and we posted them on the web page for the team. Uh, and the team was disassembled about 2 years later, but I was off on my own in UFOs. So
Was
um,
this before? And I apologize for interrupting you. Was this before or after that? Did you had a personal experience with UFOs?
this was before.
Okay.
Yeah, what I started doing was writing, and I got a little bit of interest. One person in particular uh, invited me to their house to try to see what my opinions were about him being visited by UFOs, and it came to be that what he was doing was he was trying to trap me into something that would um, that would expand more of the information than I've ever been given out, like not just blogs, but the real nitty gritty stuff. And I didn't realize it at first, but when I saw what he was doing, then I knew I had to get out of there. And but not until he showed me picture of an up close spaceship that he said he took outside of his window, which was impossible because the trees covered over the window. So
you thought he was just trying to scam at this point?
yeah, he was trying to get to me and know what I knew, and I wasn't going to give up anything. So he showed me a whole video about the ship going by his window. It was incredible. It really was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And but oh well.
So Monica wants to know, what are your thoughts about the Appalachians and what goes on there? Is there anything specific that you know of that's kind of stuck around the Appalachians?
You mean in the area that's considered Appalachia?
I think that's what she's referring to.
Okay. Well, I hadn't heard anything about that necessarily, but every area in the country has their own sightings, and a lot of people have been abducted from these away from the city areas, a whole lot.
Okay, and you personally believe that abductions actually are happening or have happened, or do you think they even continue to happen?
These are things that started out happening back in the 50s and expanded through the 80s and 90s, and they've backed off slightly recently, but they're still ongoing. And the abductions are happening because of government interference and because of ET interference. So it's some crazy stuff, I'll tell you.
Well, I'm interested to hear about it. So when you talk about government and ET interference, can you kind of break that down a little bit? Because, I mean, obviously the government, since Roswell happened, and they initially put it out that, hey, we have alien craft. Oh, wait, no, let's backtrack and say, no, it was a weather balloon. All right, we got that. And they backtracked. Ever since that cover up started to happen from there, the government has been secretive this entire time. But now you have like this disclosure movement actually happening. So do you feel like the government is still actively trying to cover up some of these things? Or, I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on some of that?
I think that they're actually, now I'm surmising this. No one from the government has told me, okay?
Okay.
But I believe that they're concerned about the reaction of the population and what we would potentially do if the word got out that there were extraterrestrials close by and even interfacing with us. But that's coming to an end because everybody's on the bandwagon for, hey, tell us what's going on. And slowly but surely, this is happening.
Mm-hmm. Which is about time. I think I think it's long overdue. I think disclosure is long overdue. What gives a certain group of people the right to, keep all of this from the rest of the people on the planet? It just doesn't seem right. But Tom, Evan has a question for you. Tom, what's your take on the cattle mutilations?
Wow. I believe that the mutilations were done by gray aliens, and they're looking for particular portions of the cattle that they took to use their DNA from. And I think that they're in the process of creating a hybrid race so that they can perpetuate their population. And apparently, one of the factions of the gray aliens are us from the future, and they're trying to keep themselves going. So it's basically out of need that they're doing that.
Okay, and I think there has been very, very little of that at least that I've come across in any of my studies or anything like that. It's not something you see a lot of come anymore. I mean, I'm sure it probably is still happening. Is it anything that you come across in your research anymore?
Not very often. but there was a lot of that in the 70s and the 80s. And every so often you hear about one event in one of the far out places, like in, middle of the country in Colorado or whatever. But it's happening seemingly less often than it did. And I think it's because they probably don't need that DNA anymore. So they're not taking wholesale cattle.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's an interesting theory. I've seen some different, perspectives on this. People saying, "Well, it's just a scam," kind of like crop circles. But I think that some of these mutilations and the way they're done, and how would you cut into living flesh with it being so perfect and no actual like bloodletting, and there's way too many questions, and I just don't think that we are quite that sophisticated and taking that much time to mutilate these animals just for a hoax. You know what I mean? So it's kind of two sides of the fence, two ways to look at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why do you think that humans have been so fascinated by UFOs, UAPs? Like, why do you feel like, this is something that people, even now, after we've been lied to so much, people still find so much interest in UFO, UAP phenomena?
I think more and more people are remembering where they came from. And they came from, in a lot of cases, extraterrestrial interfaces, and they came from other planets, and they came from our own planet, but remember from like 20 lives ago that they were interfacing with extraterrestrials. This is all a remembrance deal, and they're remembering what they used to be, and they're each remembrance that they have is setting them further along in the case of raising their vibration and eventually creating a new Earth.
A new Earth. When you say a new Earth, are we talking about completely changing or eradicating like the human species as we know it?
No. A lot of this is because of the how do I describe this?
Take your time.
A lot of the people are expanding, increasing their vibration, and they can no longer live where they're living. They're going to be wanting to live on some place that is of a higher nature, a higher frequency or vibration, and just by virtue of them creating their desire to live in another place, they actually are creating a new Earth through their own wishes.
Okay, so like a new Earth, not here on Earth, a new Earth somewhere else in the solar system.
Somewhere else, but it's really us, but in a higher plane. If you had someone who's from, let's say, the fourth or fifth dimension, and you were able to see them for a short period of time, and then they went back into their fifth dimension, they would become invisible to you. That's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Evan has another question for you. What are your thoughts on implants? Do you feel that people have been implanted maybe during an abduction or something like that? Aliens maybe be tracking. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, absolutely. They used to do that back in the 80s and 90s almost regularly. Everyone who was abducted was implanted with something, and they could find that person anywhere on the planet. If he went traveling, they'd find him if they're looking for him. Now, that was ongoing for quite some time. I don't hear very many people speaking about implants any longer. So
it's another one of those.
All I can assume is because they're not speaking about it, they're not aware of them. So either they got better at what they were implanting us with, or they stopped implanting us.
Well, you figure, Tom, we have nanotechnology here on Earth, like, right? I mean, that's kind of advanced technology for humans at this point. So you figure if we have something like nanotechnology that's virtually untraceable, you would think that they would have something that would at least be far more advanced than that if they're able to travel light years in seconds. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just my thought on that. So, all right, kind of want to shift gears here a little bit into like evidence and like some of the skepticism that you run into. Okay. Do you think eyewitness accounts, like current eyewitness accounts, are like undervalued or overvalued, like in the modern UAP discussion?
Well, they're not considered whatsoever. They in about 2017 or so, there was an effort to start paying attention to what the pilots were reporting, what the military was reporting, and whatever else. And they started from scratch, and they come up with maybe there's a couple of hundred right now, sightings that they can't explain. Well, if you want to look back, utilizing basically what you described as my map before, if you were to take all the sightings from where that database existed and several others like the MUFON database, you would have close to 175,000 sightings. They don't consider any of them because they weren't made by someone of scientific origin.
Gotcha. Right. So, like, and with technology today, look, I've been posting AI videos of me as the president of the United States. They're convincing videos. You know, I mean, and it's a lot of fun to do. But see, with the onset of things like AI and stuff like that, it's going to become increasingly more difficult to validate or verify and that any of this stuff is factual or even real. It's just, you can pull wool over anyone's eyes now this day and age. It's way too easy. I mean, like I said, I literally put myself in the Oval Office today as the president of the United States.
Now, all you have to do now is tell it what you want, and it will give you some reasonable description of what it was that you asked for them, and you just have to get better and better at asking them what you want, and then you're going to get some very, very good representations. Now, AI that has exploded over the past few years. I don't trust anything that I see on the internet anymore. I just
Me neither.
Can't.
I look at everything with skepticism. Everything. You just cannot tell, and it's just getting better and better and better. So, what do you think that does for the UAP, like UFO argument? Like, do you think now that that's just going to completely diminish the whole subject in and of itself?
I think that was already always a part of the plan. If you create a lot of fakes, you create a whole lot of reason for people to say, I don't believe that UFOs can get here. They're too far away, or all of the other kind of problems that people pose that would get you to say, "Oh, gee, maybe they aren't real." Get you to back off in your argument. I've seen all of them now, and the AI seems to fit right into that niche. I believe that they're actually creating lots of them just so they can say, see, fake.
Right. Well, see, it's hard to argue against guys that are pilots. They're trusted with multi-million-dollar pieces of government equipment, jets and things of that nature. I think that if you get a military pilot and they release video of the Tic Tac and other things like that, or airline pilots who have reported, who have been afraid to report. Let's be honest, they're afraid to even talk about it because their careers would be in jeopardy. But now the disclosure movement's changing things a little bit. But the only way that I feel that anything can be even trusting, or trustworthy, it's got to come from a source like that. In my opinion, it's got to come from a person that is like a pilot, or like a military pilot, or some out in the ocean, in the Navy, or something like that. I hate to say that, but and even they lie, but I feel like that's going to be our most credible source anymore moving forward.
That's the way that it has to be, only because the skeptics set it up that way. They won't believe anything that anybody sees. So if I went out and I saw something and wrote it down and with all kinds of specifics and measurements and whatever else, nobody would care. No one would care, even though it may be really comprehensive. But if someone from the military does it, well, you have to take another look at it. So
because they're putting a lot on the line. So for them to come out there and just talk about it, they're putting years of training, years of giving up their lives in service. They're putting that on the line. So when I hear somebody from the government that was either in secret agency or something to that effect, I listen very closely to what they're saying, and I give them a lot of weight.
Oh, sure. Well, sure. Well, you have to. You have to consider that. But you cannot disregard what other people have seen. If you were to go to the National UFO Reporting Center, that address is nuforc.org, and pick a state, doesn't matter which one, and just start looking at the reports, and each one has a short report, like a little short description of what they saw, but almost all of them have long descriptions with the whole description of they were out going for a smoke with their dog, and if you were to see some of those are so good that you can't say that guy made that up. But others are so bad that you say, oh, that was obviously fake. Or that light he saw in the sky, how did he know what it was?
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably about half of those you can just chop right off and say, just ignore these guys, and start getting into the real nitty gritty of the actual descriptions. And some of these are made by police officers, doctors, nurses, coming off a shift at night. And there's a whole lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say that everything is bad, even though it's not done by a military person.
Right. So now let me ask you this. Where do you think we are headed in terms of disclosure? Do you think in our lifetime there's going to be full 110% disclosure? And as such, do you think we will ever actually have visual encounters like you and me sitting out here, having a drink, and we see UFOs are no longer hiding from us anymore? Do you think that that's ever going to happen in our lifetime?
Yeah. Yes. In your lifetime, absolutely. I'm a lot older, maybe not in my lifetime, but there will be some sort of disclosure about some races, people that are visiting the Earth, and that will happen late 2026, 2027.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something's going to happen. That's
very specific. Why did you come to that? Like, what brought you to those dates?
That's what they told me.
So you were okay. Hold the phone. So you were told.
I knew that was going to happen.
Okay. So you were, all right. Now, all right. Now we need to dive into this. You were told by who and by how? Okay.
Number one, who? I don't know. How? It was done at night while I was astral traveling. They made me get out of my body and go places. and I would find myself multiple times sitting in a lecture hall listening by the hour, somebody describing something important. I never knew what those things were, but what would happen is sometimes I would come away from one of these nighttime events and wake up in the morning, and I would feel like I was in the know, like somebody happened, something, something happened. Okay, I saw that one question. Who is they? I don't know who they are. I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, no clue.
Okay.
But it's been happening for on and off for about 6 years now, and it's been uh, happening slowly, a little bit here and a little bit there, uh, at night. And
So you would
now,
say that you communicate with them regularly, almost on a nightly basis?
no, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
it happens um, maybe once every 3 weeks to a month.
That's still pretty frequent. I mean, that's a hell
It
of a
is.
lot more than I'm
And,
talking to them. So
yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
interesting. And you do this through astral projection. So astral projection is also something that fascinates me. So that, okay, for those of you that may not know, that is the process of you actually separating your consciousness from your body and literally projecting yourself into a whole nother plane of existence. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yep, that's it. And uh, all I can figure is this is how I would 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 get to certain areas. This is how I would get information. And when I woke up the next morning, occasionally I would remember some of it. And well, one of those things that I remembered was when they're going to come. Uh, but a lot of them was what they want me to do. Meanwhile, and what they want me to do is to keep writing uh, about their visitations and everything along those lines.
Do
So
you have another book in the works currently?
yes, yep. It's I woke up one morning with one of these thoughts, and it was um, it happened with a loud voice in my head. It was actually so loud that I thought that someone was in the room talking to me, and it came out to be something along the lines of God is much bigger than you thought he was, and it's your job to tell everyone.
Okay, so now that is an interesting perspective because let's
Yeah,
let's break this down a second. Because if you talk about Christianity, and Christianity does not vibe with there being creation outside of what God created here on earth. So how does that work? I mean, how does that fit into religion at all?
um, it will upend a lot of religions if you allow it to, but um, what they pretty much want me to say is that there's one true God, and He's the creator of all things. Well, that's very common with Christianity,
Sure.
but um, a lot of the other stuff, once that ends and you start getting to the hierarchy within the church, then everything becomes different, and a lot of the rules and regulations are created to keep people in line. Again, my opinion, and I was raised Catholic, by the way, and uh, it 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 got me very interested in what it was that they wanted me to do. So, I mean, after the first time I heard this, which was not last January 2020, January 2023, um, early in the morning, woke up with a thought about writing about God, And I started writing immediately. And then I realized, who the heck am I to write about God? Shouldn't I have a doctorate of divinity or something like that? I was completely out of my element here trying to write about God. So I stopped. And a year later, geez, funny, it was almost to the day in January that I woke up again with a morning thought. You should write about God, but maybe get some help this time.
From who?
Okay. So I have a co-writer that I'm trying to put things together with, and also trying to get my thoughts going as far as what it was that they want me to know and what it was that they want me to say within this book. It's very difficult, very, very hard.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, because look what you're up against. You're up against ancient texts, ancient scripts. You're talking about something that religion asks you to trust in the divine, right? And it goes deep, it goes inside. Like UFOs, UAPs, it's an outside thing. But when you're trying to kind of come at both of those together, how do you even bridge that gap? Because there's a huge gap between the two.
Yeah, I really can't bridge the UFO gap. This particular one is not about UFOs.
So it's
all.
just strictly about God. So God's not even a part of this.
Right.
Or excuse me, UFOs are not a part of this. It's actually all about God. Interesting.
Yeah. But
quite the departure.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, I feel that it was the people from the UFOs who want me to write about God.
Okay, so that changes like a whole. That's like, wow. Okay, so so extraterrestrial beings, these entities, whoever it is that you're communicating with when you astral project, they want you to have to come up with this book that actually talks about God. So that, I guess, would mean that, I guess, in essence, that these extraterrestrial beings themselves believe in God and an almighty, like, omnipotent creator.
Yeah, they of course don't buy into our religions directly.
Sure.
But they start with the premise that God is the creator of all things, and there's only one. There's one true God, and He's created everything, and that's where they want me to come from.
Okay, that's very interesting. You're probably the pioneer in this field. I don't think I've ever heard any ufologist or anyone in the field trying to kind of bring the two together. Do you know what I mean?
It isn't easy.
All right. So, being Monica, dear friend of mine, how do you know that this isn't a spiritual clairvoyance instead of an alien?
That's a great question. And
She's so small.
It's such a good question that, believe me, I thought about this from the very first time that I started having nighttime interventions and weird things happening. I thought, well, it's a guardian angel. And I thought, or maybe this is just one of my father, God rest his soul, trying to help me along with something special. Or it was my mom, or it was someone from a different dimension, or whatever else. It was only when I got to the very end of consideration that I even thought that maybe it's an extraterrestrial.
So you're not even certain at this point. It could be one or the other.
It could be.
It could be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't say no. That wouldn't be fair to say no.
Sure. But at least you're open-minded enough, and you haven't just settled on one thing, that you're willing to accept that there's other possibilities.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, before I forget, One of the comments before was about Tim Conwell, and Tim is my son.
Yes, Tim is your son. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Okay.
Okay, it's odd to use them as they, not as spirits or something else. I'm not sure what it's odd to use them as they. I'm not sure what you mean by that. No, I haven't read it. Tom, have you read that book from Chris Bledsoe?
Yes. Yeah.
You have.
And it was very interesting. It was very spiritual. And notice I didn't say religious. It was very spiritual.
Right.
And Chris talked about the experience of seeing the UFOs as a religious thing, and he saw a lot of people based on his one sighting was, and these people that he saw, I believe, related back to what his knowledge was, and his knowledge happened to be about either Catholicism or Christianity, certainly in a higher level. I would highly recommend.
Okay, so that's definitely something I'm going to write this down.
Yeah,
because I want to make sure I look it up. Chris Bledsoe. What's the book called, Evan?
UFOs of God.
Oh, that's what it is. UFOs of God.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Bledsoe. I'm going to write that down.
You won't be able to put it down. It's really, really good.
Of God. Okay. Got it. And I'm gonna hopefully, if there's an audio book, it's even better because I've got a ton of credits to use. There's my buddy Dom. How's it going, bud? So, all right, now I want to jump into something else here. Okay, we've already kind of been through the government, the secrecy, the lack of transparency. I want to kind of jump into a little bit of like the technology of it and the physics and stuff like that. So, if UAPs are real unexplained craft, what implications would their flight characteristics have for our understanding of physics? That's a big question.
You have to ask that question again. I didn't catch what you were trying to tell me.
So if UAPs are really actually unexplained aircraft, what implications would their flight characteristics have for our understanding of physics? So in other words, all right, we can't, okay, these crafts move with a propulsion system that we can't even comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
So if we've supposedly captured craft, like starting back in, what was it, 1947? 47 was Roswell?
Yeah, they caught craft before then, but yeah.
But that was the first, but that was the first time they really became a public thing because they put it in the news. Why haven't we, or have we, reverse engineered that technology? But if we did, wouldn't we be seeing that in our technology today, in our aircraft and things of that nature, outside of like stealth technology?
Okay, I see. Well, have we reverse engineered things? I believe we have. We've reverse engineered a lot. And if we were to take some of these technologies and put them into our daily use, it would become obvious that we've made a incredible leap in the science, and that would clue in all of our adversaries that we have reverse engineered things, and we want to keep it on the down low. So they aren't going to tell us until such time as they have to.
Yeah, I wish they would, honestly, I wish they would just come out with it at this point.
Oh, I
Because
know.
I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of the cloak and dagger. My trust in the government has diminished immensely, especially since 2001. Won't delve into any of that stuff here, but at this point, the people of the United States alone, okay, have gotten so tired of the lying, the cloak and dagger. We're at a different point in our lives. We're at a different time, and I feel like people are far more desensitized, be what we see on TV and what we hear on the radio and media. I think we're just ready at this point. Why don't we just like, why can't somebody just blow the doors off of this thing? I don't understand why that hasn't happened yet.
Well, I really think that it has to do with how we will come across to our adversaries. Everything is about how we're looked at by our adversaries. And I believe that's why they keep things secret, so that they don't give away too much.
Okay. I mean, but I think we'd be foolish to think that the United States is the only nation on the planet that has captured UFO technology.
No. A lot of people have, a lot of countries have grabbed it. Some of them have shared with the U.S., but Russia has its own program. China has its own reverse engineering program. Great Britain has been trying their hand at things for years. So there's quite a few larger countries on the planet who have reverse engineered some things, not all things yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hopefully we're headed in a place that, contact with human race like won't be something that's like with the intent to harm. That it's actually here because they want to help. I mean, what's your feeling on that? Do you feel well? And I think it almost answers itself because you're talking about them being a spiritual. Anybody that's spiritual or that believes in God, generally speaking, believes in the good and doesn't seem intent on hurting. But I could be wrong.
Well, I believe that there are some races of beings out there who aren't particularly good and wouldn't be if they were the first group that we grabbed to make friends with. But I believe that the ones that are around the planet right now, surrounding the planet and generally keeping us safe, all have our best interest in mind.
Mm-hmm. That's comforting to know that we're not going to have a war of the worlds, that type thing.
Oh.
But speaking of which, people believe that, places like Egypt, the pyramids or Machu Picchu, and some of these incredibly monolithic structures could not possibly have been constructed by ancient people. Do you feel that some of those have actually been built with alien technology?
With alien assistance. Absolutely assistance. And in many cases, a lot of the larger structures that are almost impossible when you look at them, I believe that they were made even before the last great flood and the big freeze by a group of people on the earth who were highly intelligent and far, far superior to us. They created some of these things and not necessarily using the earth people as slaves to create them.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. They may in some cases, but not necessarily.
Okay. Because I mean, when you look at some of these places, and Evan, I'll post your question in a second. When you look at some of these places, you have rocks that are so perfectly formed, carved so perfectly, you can't fit a piece of paper through those, or hair in some instances. Yep. We can barely do that today. There's it's virtually impossible. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead. Hey, Savannah, it's good to see you. Evan wants to know your thoughts on MyLabs. I don't have a clue what that is, so I'm interested.
That's the military abduction.
Oh.
Yeah. And I believe that they were active for quite a few years, probably from the 80s to 2010 timeframe. I'm not so sure that they're active any longer, but they were trying to get into into the minds of humans and convince them that the people who were military, were a different race of people. And I believe that they had a lot of the technology shared with them, so that they were able to do that.
Okay.
That's
So
my labs.
So he says humans can launch a satellite, but we can't build in stone. As sarcastic as that is, it's kind of right. I mean, think about it.
It's very right.
You
Yeah.
know, and a 2-year science book is obsolete because the way, things change and things progress. But
Oh, absolutely.
when you think about it, our progress, we might look at it as being relatively fast from the time we were able to fly to where we are in aviation now. In 100 years, do you feel like we should be more advanced in that span of time, or do you think we're progressing kind of on pace for humans?
I think that they gave us, meaning crash craft on purpose. They gave us craft, um, so that we could reverse engineer some things so that it would hurry us along a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should we be further along? I think they're trying to put a lid on things, because one of the things we created was the nuclear bomb, and that freaked everybody out. And well,
Do I think AI would disclose extraterrestrials? I mean, AI is programmed by humans. Like,
yeah,
so
I don't know what to say to that.
yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, AI is supposed to be self-learning, right? It's a self-learning, sentient type being. So you would
Mhm.
think, you know, air quotes around that, but you would think that it could learn. It's gathering information all the time. It's pulling it from sources we can't even fathom. I mean, if it's online, AI generally has access to it. So it's safe to say that it could be drawing from stuff that we have no idea even exists, right? So that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I mean, the AI, you can ask questions about, God's intentions or the devil's intentions, and it's going to give you a story. It's going to just lay it out, something out for you.
Yeah.
So that's tricky. That's like that's a weird gray area. You know what I mean? So
Yes, I do.
So let's talk a little bit really quick about like the implications of what contact would bring. I mean, what do you think? Like, what institutions would benefit from, contact or disclosure, and what would science, religion, government, the military, like who would be most disrupted? Probably religion, but what's your opinion on that?
Yeah. I'd say initially it would be religions. Um, I think that all scramble to say, "Oh, we believed in them all along," but then the story would start to come apart, and
Mhm.
yeah, it really wouldn't work for the long term. Um, Religion would be the largest affected. I believe the military would too. Once everybody gets a chance to see what these ships can do up close, they're going to realize that our military is useless against them.
I
That will
think
be a big one.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's probably seen those videos of us launching test missiles, nuclear test missiles, and that
Yeah.
UAP flew on 3 sides of that missile as it's flying and shot lasers. The government has acknowledged that video is authentic.
Hmm.
What does that tell you? I mean, the government told you that video is authentic. That's disclosure.
Pretty much. There's been a whole lot that be considered disclosure. A whole lot of stuff that could be considered that.
Well, I think people are just becoming numb to it because you've
Yeah.
been
Oh yeah.
lied to. There's been
Yeah.
lies. There's been cloak and dagger. So now they're trying to say that this is that. So have you been lying the whole time? So people just don't know what to believe anymore.
Very true.
All right, last question. We're going to wrap it up here. What's your take on Men in Black? All right. Do you think that is that a government group of people, or are they extraterrestrial? What's your opinion on that?
Wow. I actually think that when they first started, they were a mix of two. One is a government person who do all the talking, and the other was a someone who looked like human, but they would utilize their ability to read minds and try to make sure that that person was going to comply and shut up.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, as much as I'd love to dive into that, I think we've reached the end of our show here today, Tom. I can't thank you enough for coming back on here and spending some time with us and giving us, this incredible look on the inside of what it is that you do. Really quick, guys, if you look down here on the bottom of the screen for the entire show, you've seen it's been scrolling across the bottom. If you go to Amazon.com, just search Tom's name. Okay. It's Thomas W. Conwell. He has a list of 6 books on there. Go pick one of them up, guys. It's definitely worth your time. All right. If you're interested at all, just go check it out. All right, guys. Tom, thanks again so much for coming back on. Definitely would love to. Absolutely. Definitely love to have you come back on again sometime in the future and dig a little deeper.
Yep. Great. I'm always here for you.
Outstanding. Guys, thank you so much. As always, please follow me over at Hizzy's Place on YouTube. You can hit me up on Hizzy's Place on Facebook and anywhere you get your social media. Have a look. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Take care.